What up, Toronto Raptor fans? Lots of big news happening today. The Toronto Raptors finally win a game without having to fully bust their humps in the final minutes of the closing quarter. This game felt a little bit more in hand, although I got a little bit squirmy and my bum got a little bit tight at the end there. The Toronto Raptors win at home against the Portland Trailblazers 117-105. I am joined by a special guest brought up from the Developmental League of Podcast Hosting, my very own big brother, Nate Dogg Moss. What's up, Nate Dogg?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. This is a relief for many reasons. I kind of have been getting to the point of these games where I look at the roster of the other team and I think to myself, there's literally no way we can win if we are struggling to beat the New York Knicks when we didn't, and we lose to the Indiana Pacers. I think a team like Portland, who has greater aspirations in the Western Conference, that were hooped, and I stood totally corrected. What were your initial thoughts coming out of this game and this W?
Well, to add to your initial thought, Portland got a good team and they've got depth, but they were coming in on the last game of a road trip. Though that kind of put them in kind of neutral, if you will, in terms of looking at that team from a macro perspective. But my initial thought was that was one of the better efforts that we've had this year. I think we beat Cleveland and Indiana back in a little 2-game stretch there, or it might have been Cleveland and New York, I forget. But
yeah,
we looked really good as a unit today, and everybody contributed, even the bench. And I thought, even if people didn't score, I thought that they did a really good job. Like Herman Gomez came in and gave some good minutes. Malachi Flynn came off the bench and gave him really good minutes. So I really think that it was really positive from an in-game perspective, but also big picture. We did a lot of things that we haven't been able to do. The 3-point shot still needs some work, but I thought we did a lot of good things today to counter that offensively. And then defensively, I thought it was one of our better games in a while.
Yeah, I agree with you on all fronts. To go back to the macro level of the Portland Trailblazers, I look at this team and I feel like I'm looking in the mirror as far as a fan goes. There's so much of what Portland's been doing recently reflects back with Toronto, right? Like they had high hopes coming into the season. I had high hopes for them. They see themselves as a playoff run type of team. They're centered around a dynamic guard and like a good shooting guard and some guys on the wing and the power forward with Grant and Hart that just kind of remind me of the Raptors. And then you kind of have a playmaking big, so to speak, with Barnes and Nurkic kind of. So there seems to be a lot of parallels. And then you look at the schedule, same thing. The Blazers have really struggled. They're beating up on crud teams, but they lost to the Mavs. They lost to the Thunder back-to-back games. They lost to the Nuggets. They lost to the Warriors. They lost to the Wolves, then the Pacers, and then us. So they're on a 3-game losing streak. So, and you could feel in this game the same kind of inertia that has poisoned the Raptors of recent with the Blazers. Like a lot of hoisting from 3, a lot of single pass.
Hello?
Well, I got booted there. Sorry. A lot of. Can you hear me, Nate? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Testing. No one can hear me. Shit. Testing, testing, testing. Fuck. Dog. Can you hear me? Hello, testing. Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me, Nate? Fuck. Test, test. Testing. Testing, testing. Oh, Nate can't on his end. Okay, you can hear me. My bad. All right, Nate Dog can't hear me. Sorry for all the F ups. Nate, you might have me muted, so check your thing. So anyway, I was saying, what was I saying? Portland, yeah, they look infected by the same inertia as us. And that was a problem. And you could see it kind of like permeate the energy of the Trailblazers tonight. And conversely, so yeah, one and dones, and the Raptors were kind of doing the same thing, a single pass, and then a jack, but they kind of got into a better flow of things, and yeah, and so it was just interesting seeing the two teams, Toronto and Portland, kind of face off. It kind of seems like they're both at crossroads, and so it was good to see. Good to see Toronto kind of break a lot of what was funk for them. I'm going to be right back and see if I can fix Nate's audio. All right, friends. Apologies. Technical difficulties. Classic on a Sunday day. So, yeah. Let's check the stats here. So, yeah, the Raptors, a lot more was going on tonight in terms of decision making. Scottie Barnes stood out as one guy who was a lot more focused tonight. Nurkic was drop defense on Scottie on almost all the possessions. And Scottie was a lot more decisive than he had been in the past, which is encouraging to see. And I can't really figure out what the hell is going on in that guy's mind, but we needed him to be the kind of hub player that he was tonight. Nate, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. We're back. Nate, what did you think about Scottie Barnes tonight? He seemed to be a linch in the offensive upturn of tonight.
I thought Scottie Barnes was terrific. I think what you're talking about is, and I think the last few games he's been experiencing drop coverage, or his matchups are encouraging him to shoot the outside shot. And I think what you thought today was a graduation to immediately knowing what to do when he was given that drop coverage or his perimeter shot. And we've seen it in spurts, especially in the second half. But sometimes, with young guys, some days it's gonna all of a sudden click. And I think today he wasn't thinking, as you said, he was just reacting and making great decisions and didn't seem to have any hesitation. And I think it's just the big following journey of a second-year player. But I thought he came out with the right mindset from the go on both sides of the floor, especially offensively. And I think going forward, we'll see more of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there has been a fetishization maybe with Scottie Barnes of being this ball handling playmaker. And, I'm guilty of it. But I think what we're seeing is that they have decided to put Scottie at the 5, which I love, and turn him into a secondary playmaking guy in the middle of the floor. A la Draymond Green. And I think it's made a lot more sense. He looks a lot more comfortable being in the middle of the floor and being a part of the action and being central to the actions going on without being necessarily the focal point at a standstill, right? Like from the elbow, from the top of the key, he doesn't need to ball handle like Doug Smith complained about last game. He can just take the shot, or he can one dribble hand off screen, or he can do a lot of things at a standstill from the half court. And so I've really liked what I've seen from him in the last couple of games as far as positionally. But tonight, he actually looked at the rim. Tonight, he was aggressive. He took shots when he was open. And you need this, especially with a guy like Nurkic, who's going to take the easy road and be in drop coverage and try and plug the paint. You need this from Scottie. And it goes a long way.
Scottie is now playing, to use a Raptor example of Draymond Green, he's now being the Mark Gasol role, having him in the middle of the floor on the elbows, getting screens and seeing the floor as a point forward, point center kind of role. And he doesn't have to, like you said, initiate the offense with his dribbling. And that fetish of Scottie being a ball handling focal point, I believe can still come. But I think
100%.
Let's simplify his role a little bit right now and put him in the middle of the action and let him use his vision and let the other guys move off of the ball on the weak side and let Scottie find them. And I think that's a great simplification of his role without taking his greatest asset, without his passing and his vision.
And there's no reason why he can't be Magic Johnson in transition, right? Like you see, he ripped one rebound away from Gary over top of him, which is good. You want him to do the Westbrookian defensive rebound run into transition thing, and he's great at it. And there's no reason, and Draymond does the same thing. There's no reason you can't do that stuff. But then once you're in your half court stuff, that's when you kind of go back to that central hub role. I think we're not going to get to the Can-Am Taxman yet, but taking a look at Scottie's stats, they seem to be the most efficient. He was 7 for 12, 1 for 3 from 3, 8 free throw attempts, which is among all, the starters. We had quite a number, which is encouraging to see, although Freddie had none.
He only missed one, right?
He only missed one. He had 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. Now, and this is another thing about Scottie, which has confused me forever, and I understand it with a younger guy playing the 5, right? He's undersized. He's going to get beaten up, and there are certain centers out there where it doesn't really make sense. But his intelligence, his spatial awareness, his positional awareness makes him a great defender down low. And you could see that tonight. He had a couple of blocks, the one that got challenged and weirdly assigned to Fred, which is totally baffling to me. He was in a lot of places within as a center. He was filling filling the role well. And I like him there because rather than being at the point of attack or more vulnerable on the perimeter, he is a lot more effective being down low.
Yeah, and I think again it comes down to typification. I think that let's build a confidence defensively. Let's put him again at the 5, where he can use that vision and positional awareness and just react. And then you see later in the game that confidence grows, and he got the matches on the perimeter, and he did a really good job. So, I don't think Dottie is that point of attack guy on defense I consistently as we like quite yet. But I think he'll get there, and I think simplification will, on both ends, will allow his confidence to grow consistently. And we'll see if he can carry it for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because this 4-game stretch, as Jack Armstrong was referring to in the broadcast, this is it. The Raptors ideally have to win their next 4 games and let get themselves back into it, because this is money time. This is Raptor war time. We gotta get it together and win these 4 in a row right now.
No doubt. Who do you want to talk about next? I'm kind of torn here. I do want to mention maybe. What do you want to talk about, Nate?
Well, I think we thought some different lineups today, and
that's what I wanted to talk about.
Lineups are hard to pick up from time to time, but you do a pretty good job of it. Why don't we talk about those things?
So we've been on the pod. We've been whining and complaining relentlessly about the bench, well, everything about the bench units, the amount of time they're playing, the amount of time the starters are playing, the inconsistency on who's playing, when they're playing, the rotations. Tonight was one of the first times that I felt like there was a plan and a plan that we're sticking to. So early on in the game, we saw Koloko and Wancho come in, and they kept Pascal, Freddie, and OG. So the idea here is that let's get a couple of guys some rest, 2 guys who can fill a role at least offensively and kind of like the hustle plays, but our core offensive load will remain on these 3 guys. Great. That's not so much a high risk. Then they go to the Gary Trent Jr. and 4 bench guys, Malachi Flynn, Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher, and I'm missing somebody. Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher, Malachi Flynn, Gary. Huh?
Daddy Young.
And Thad? Was Thad the 5th?
I think so, yeah.
They had Koloko out there for a while too. And that seemed to do okay. I don't have their stats in front of me. Precious finally played 10 minutes. He only played 4 in the last game. Didn't make any sense to me. He had a good showing. Flynn was only 1 for 3, but he had 3 assists, and he was doing stuff, right? He was dynamic out there. He had that nice split on the pick and roll and dish.
Yeah.
And so
I thought he was up on the body defensively.
Yeah, he played. I mean, Flynn is an underrated defender. I defended him when he got shot on the last couple of games for poor defense. He does play pretty well, and especially against a smaller team like or smaller backcourt with Simons and Dame. I thought he did a pretty good job. Yeah. And this is what I've been advocating before with. This is a quasi Gary as a 6th man, right? They took him off early in the first quarter, and then they brought him back with the bench unit. And they're like, all right, Gary, this is your team. Go cook. And I thought he paired quite well with Flynn. It helped that Boucher hit a shot or 2. So I liked it. And then in the second quarter, they did the same thing, although I believe Scottie and Gary came back together. And I don't mind that as well. So it was nice to see some consistency in the rotations. And lo and behold, the starting 5 play less than 40 minutes in a win. Pascal led the team with 38 minutes. Gary had 36, Freddie 34, OG only 33 because he fouled out, and Scottie with 29. I mean, that's like load management for the Toronto Raptors right there.
Well, I think, some of our colleagues at Raptors Republic in previous editions of Wrap Up have questioned whether there's been role definition on the team. And I think today it felt like everybody was plotted just right. And that could be a number of things. But, smaller lineup, being aggressive on both ends. But I thought that it felt to me like everybody was sitting in the roles, whether it was Flynn and his limited minutes, or Herman Gomez, or Frederick Stewart in his 10 minutes. I thought everybody was really good in the time that they got on the floor. And that's what I'd like to see moving forward. Is let's have a good, solid zone. You don't have to outdoor the other team's bench, but don't put it out of game with bad showing. And I thought that today the bench held their own, obviously, and not allowed the starters to rest, particularly the big three of Van Vliet, Siakam, and Trent. And it showed. Fred was really, I thought, good in the fourth quarter. And how many minutes did he play, Aiden?
For Trent, 29.
Fred.
Oh, Freddie, 35.
35. So that's right. That's perfect number for him. 30, 34, 35, 36 minutes. And he had a great fourth quarter today. Some big threes.
Yeah.
It'll pay off. Yeah.
And it's not necessarily correlative yet, but in the games where he's playing 40 plus, he's missing those clutch end of game threes. In the game that he kind of has a little bit more time to breathe, he hits some huge 3-pointers late. So, I mean, that it does go a long way, and it was encouraging to just finally be able to breathe easy with the bench unit. Now, that might have more to say with how Portland played, and it remains to be seen. But I think it's encouraging signs moving forward that Nurse has decided that, okay, like enough is enough. I've got to lean on my bench, and we got to win out of it, right? So there's some like positive reinforcement there. Another thing I wanted to note that you have something to say?
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I wanted to transition to Pascal because the last couple of games he had quieter games, I'll say. And I part of that I've also complained is that the Raptors just don't make a concerted effort to involve Pascal. And in fact, today I kind of was counting it. First 4 minutes of the game, I don't think Pascal even looked at the rim with the ball. I could be mistaken, but he definitely did not look involved in the offense. It looked like the Raptors of old already. Everybody was getting their own, jacking, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, it was Pascal time, and he cooked in the first quarter. And he slowed a little bit throughout the game. He finished 8 for 19. He got to the line 11 times, 27 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. So he played well, but it was encouraging not only to see Pascal have a good game, but to be aggressive, to be the primary aggressor, and then everybody else kind of like cascading off of him. Did you see the same?
Well, we were having a little conversation about Trae Young and what does he make people better. And I think Siakam can go 8 for 19 or 9 for 20 or 10 for 23. As long as he's aggressive and take advantage of his mismatches and then get everybody else involved. And if he does that gives the rest of the team confidence. Then they want to move, they want to attack for themselves instead of relying on Pascal. So the student members are going to come and go, but will Pascal be aggressive and be given the opportunity to be aggressive. And you're right, the first 4 or 5 minutes he was invisible, and then the light came on, and Pascal became was given the opportunity to exploit the mismatch of having got hard on him.
Whoever there, I mean, I don't know. They must have been just getting good rotations, but I barely saw Jeremy Grant on Pascal, who seems like a natural defender on Pascal. Like over and over again, he had lesser bodies on him, and that like it's game over.
Yeah, and I think that you thought a thing with Scottie Barnes. They didn't want to they didn't want Nurkic playing up at all, and Scottie was able to build off of that and half that we were talking about, and from the start of the game, he knew what to do with his mismatch, and take advantage of Nurkic playing drop coverage all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think that those things are really positive moving forward, because even if teams play us differently, the ability to recognize what we have to do given the coverage is a really important thing to build on going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And I was just looking at, we had 26 assists tonight, which I feel like could be up there as a season high. It felt that way. And it wasn't because we were hitting our shots. We were still only 12 for 31 from three, which is 39%. Like it's a solid number. It's not anything to write home about, but there was a lot more ball movement today. Pascal less so. Like I felt like he missed a couple. You and I were yelling at the screen when he missed OG up top, and then he rotated with Juancho, and then Juancho was wide open, and he missed Juancho too. He had another one where he missed OG down low with a mismatch, and then I think he drew a foul and then went over to OG and said, "My bad." So Pascal had his moments, but he's like, it's okay. It's forgivable with Pascal. With guys like Freddie, I love to see him attacking and distributing more. Like he took 9 3-point attempts, which just seems a little bit lower for him. But it seems like during all of this, during this stretch where the team has been struggling, Nurse has emphasized like relying on your teammates, and I think you're starting to see it a lot more. The ball has been much less sticky than of the past.
And one thing we did offensively today was, even though our 3-point shooting left a little bit to be desired still, we were using the middle of the floor. The other 23 feet of space on the offensive end was not without traffic tonight. We were doing a lot of pick and roll stuff. We had Coloto roll into the basket, and Coloto, by the way, was a top 4 of activity tonight. And yeah, he had the foul trouble and all that kind of stuff. But I really liked how they used him in the middle of the floor. I liked how Thaddeus Young was able to use the paint as well. I thought our passing created that energy and that willingness to move and throw the basket and all those kind of things. And I thought, the 26 was just a beautiful reflection of the ball movement tonight. And we didn't, even when we went out though, it didn't last for very long. We got back the ball movement quicker. There was a little, it got a little stuck, I believe, in the fourth quarter, a little bit, and that's okay. Sometimes teams put that back in the game. You have a guy like Dame, he gets hot, and I want to put a stop to that. But other than that, I thought the ball movement collectively was one of the best ball movement displayed I've seen this season from the Raptors.
Yeah, I agree. And conversely, you kind of saw Portland not do that, and you can, like, I don't know. It was just really like a trip for me to just watch Portland and feel like I'm watching a simulacrum of Toronto from the last month, just like, and it was such a nice contrast to kind of see us change our style a little bit in a positive way, and see how Portland struggled with kind of the same things that plagued Toronto in the past.
Well, you could look at Portland and you could take Jeremy Grant in the back of the atom. You had the Damian Lloyd. He could be the Van Vliet. Josh Hart is the OG. Though, I think you're not wrong. I I don't think you were quite Dean Double, but I think you were Dean a very similar uh, ball club in terms of the type of players that they have on their team and the role that they fit. Though I don't think you're I think you're pretty much dead on with that comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's quick shout out to OG's defense, because we gotta just keep the hype going for Defensive Player of the Year here. Once again, OG is guarding the best player on another team, a superstar, somebody who positionally is not supposed to necessarily be guarding, and he did a pretty damn good job on Dame Lillard, I have to say. OG ended with 4 steals and a block. A couple of those were like freebies, but still held Dame to 11 for 23, 7 turnovers. This is another thing that the Raptors have started to we're starting to see the defensive team of old. We saw them. Giannis had 12 turnovers. And tonight they had Dame with 7, and I think so much of that has to do with OG's effort. So he didn't play the best on offense. In fact, we talked about this last podcast about, as far as being a scorer, quote unquote, he's almost regressed. Like, once again tonight, he dropped the ball a couple of times on drives. He got stuck. He fell over. Blah blah blah. Really frustrating for him, I'm sure, and like. As I think OG might be my favorite player in the league now, and like watching that is really frustrating. But at the same time, he's hitting his threes now at more consistent clip. I think Devlin mentioned he's had a 3 in his last 10 games, and his defense is just otherworldly.
Well, I think what had to happen is the team had to help him out, and we need to win a few more games because Players of the Year, defensively outstanding, MVP, whatever. You need to have a good record in order to win those awards, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And you look at the year that Brook Lopez for the Bucks is having defensively, or Miles Turner, or Mikal Bridges, or Draymond Green. We got to bring that record up a little bit so that OG can get the recognition that he deserves. Because I think, for me, my defensive player has quit a few times this year, but I think OG is the defensive player of the year, honestly, when I think about it, and how aggressive and how much of a game versus he is on the defensive end of the floor. He's definitely my defensive player right now, and we just need to win a few more games to help him out in that regard.
Jaren Jackson Jr. moving up the ranks in that department too. He's a defensive monster. Going back quickly, we'll move on in a sec, but going back quickly to the assists, I'm just checking it out now, was not a season high. The season high was 32 against Philly. Now, if you look at, so they have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and now it'll be 10 games where they've had 26 assists or more, and they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins and 3 losses. That doesn't add up, but whatever. You get the drift. Is when this team, and it's a little bit correlative, right? You get assists when you're scoring more, but the more this team passes and the more that this team is distributing, the more likely they are to win. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you a question, and Raptors Nathan, it pretty much, they know that as good as today was, they're doing a long road ahead. So my question is to you, what can we carry over to the next 4 games, and what are the things that we can take away from today's game and hopefully see moving forward? I think we named some pretty obvious ones that can apply to the macro picture, but I'm just wondering your thoughts on that.
I honestly think it's what we're just talking about. It's just like there is no hero ball in this team. Like this team wins by working as a collective more than anything else. There's a hierarchy, and like you were talking about earlier, there's role definition, and it seems finally people are starting to settle into place and become comfortable with where their role is. Although arguably the last week in media coverage and Freddie, maybe not so. But my problem has never been exactly Freddie's high usage rate. It's how that usage rate has been executed, right? Like we talk about this all the time, like the slowing down of the pace, the shooting the shots, the not like the doing it. You know, as a coach, you always say like it's not the shot necessarily you take, but it's when you're taking it, right? Is it the first pass of the possession in the 24-second clock, or is it the 7th second after 5 passes, right? And I think this team is starting to understand that there are better shots out there when they depend on each other more, and so much of that is running things through Pascal and Scottie more so than Freddie. And I think we're seeing a lot more pick and rolls as well, which feeds into that rationale.
And I don't think that Fred Fred taking a dive role in terms of connecting aiding the offense is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that he's not important to the Raptors. He's integral. It just means that what this does by putting the ball in Pascal and Scottie hand, it just makes Fred more efficient.
Exactly.
Battle with double teams and with guards that are more athletic than him defensively. He can play off of Pascal and Scottie and then run the pick and roll as he did today.
Yeah.
And so it just makes Freddie, I think the wording is wrong. Freddie doesn't become less important. He just becomes more efficient and is allowed to be the steady Freddie we know when Pascal and Scottie can take some of his heat off of him in terms of running the offense.
Yeah, well said. I 100% agree with you. And I feel like we saw it a lot more tonight. I'd be curious to know about the usage percentages tonight, but it seemed better distributed. Yeah, encouraging tonight. Like the shooting wasn't great again, but we still kind of we still played well despite that, and that's always a good sign.
Well,
no, go ahead. No.
I did think that it's a good time. We have a recipe here, guys. We play great defense. We play aggressive defense, and we vary ourselves offensively, and we can win. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to be a quintessential three-point shooting team. Hopefully, over the season, we'll get progressively better. But today, we saw a recipe that we don't have to go ISO or shoot all these threes. There are other ways to play winning basketball, and our defense created our offense with the Raptors staple over the years. And the more we can do that, and just move the ball, not worry about 3-point attempts, we have a recipe going forward, I believe, to propel us to a better position going forward.
Yeah, and we, less 3-point shots missed. Oren and I talked about this last game. Like the more 3-point misses you have, the more turnovers you have, obviously, the harder it is to get back in transition. And so scoring in the paint, which it seemed we did a lot of tonight, I can probably check the paint scores on that. We had very few turnovers, which is always encouraging. Winning that possession battle, it makes it hard for okay. Points in the paint, we have 42, less than Portland's 46, but still impressive. Fast break points was 19 to 16. Bench points, 21 points to 3. So we really outshone Portland's bench tonight, which is great. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I think as much as the defense makes the offense also will make the defense a little bit too. It allows us to get back, get into position, and D up. Nate Dogg, as the guest tonight, I'm going to give you the opportunity to choose the Can-Am Taxman of the night. Be my guest, my friend.
Well, Siakam bit back out Siakam as the player of the game, and I have no problem with that. He played really well, but and looked more like the Pascal we used to. But for me, the Taxman player of the game for today had to be Scottie Barnes. I thought he was just aggressive offensively from the get-go. He knew what to do with drop coverage. He didn't hesitate. He only missed one free throw. He was all over the place defensively. The old deflecting, great passes, even hit a three, which is rare for him these days. I think they were saying in his last number of games, he's only hit 3 of them. So I think my player of the game had to go to Scottie Barnes.
100% with you. I mentioned his stats previously. He just had a very efficient game, a lot more aggressive, and really to me, he's the answer to this team's problems, right? Like if he becomes another playmaker, which more than Pascal, he's a better passer than Pascal, which is I don't think that controversial thing to say. He's obviously a much worse scorer, but he looks just so much more dynamic than any other Toronto Raptor. Marc Gasol is a really good example. Jokic is another stratosphere, but same kind of idea. Draymond, they are already scanning the court and finding open plays before they get the ball or before they look where those cuts are. And you can see it, you can feel it. He's going to find the right guy. It's very seldom where I find more often than not with Pascal, I'm he's open, get the ball. Whereas Scottie, it almost never is that way. And so he is absolutely integral to this team moving forward. And being the Can-Am Taxman of the night is demonstrative of that victory. CanAmTax.com. Go check it out. They help you with personal taxes, business taxes. It's already tax season again. I swear to God, it was just tax season.
Yeah.
I'm already terrified to do my taxes. But so if you're also terrified, go to CanAmTax.com. Tell them Raptors Republic sent you. They're good pals of ours. And congratulations, Scottie. I should have told you, Nate, ahead of time. This award is also known as the Not Pascal Siakam Award because it's about 95% of the time you probably could just say Pascal Siakam was the Can-Am Taxman of the night. So we try and go away from Pascal as much as we can. So
well, I think we don't want to take Pascal for granted, but we know that Pascal's going to be there, which is a credit to him. But I think considering that Scottie's been up and down this season, when he really played well, and like you said, Aiden, see the difference between a good and not so good Raptor team. And we have to be careful with that as fans and supporters, because this kid is only 21 years old. So I think we need to be patient. But yeah, no doubt that Scottie Barnes did the difference between what it would have happened to this season. And going back to what I said, not 4 games, absolutely must win. So we need to leave this game, take the positive out of it, and we need to look forward to the next 4 games.
Yeah, so that's a good segue out of here. I will say one detracting note from the Scottie Barnes Can-Am Taxman of the night. I don't know if you've seen the video footage yet or not, but him and Thaddeus Young got into it, I think, at halftime. You can find it on the Twitter sphere if you so desire to see it. They're face to face. They're angry. I think it probably takes a lot to upset Thaddeus Young. So I'm not going to speculate. Maybe Scottie said something he didn't like, but that's never a good look. Also, never a good look. I happen to follow Thaddeus Young's wife on Twitter. And of course, she was immediately defending Thaddeus. And then there was a bunch of shitty fans that were being assholes. Don't be shitty. Don't be an asshole is all I'm going to say on that front.
Yeah, no, don't do that, guys. We don't. We're classy people.
We're classy. I mean, I'm not classy, but I'm not rude.
And you guys gotta remember, these guys eat, sleep, live together every minute.
Yeah, like brothers.
Every day. So these arguments, these disagreements are gonna happen, guys.
100%.
It's the nature of the beat. So don't worry about it and just enjoy the win.
So Nate mentioned that the next 4 games are must wins. I'm pretty much in agreement for multiple reasons. One, we have back-to-backs against Charlotte Hornets, who are more in the Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson race than almost any other team in the league, although they've been playing better now that they're finally healthy, although I think Hayward's out, so not fully healthy. So those are must-wins. Then we play Atlanta, and then we play New York, who we've split the series with thus far, I believe. And these are all big games because the Hawks and the Knicks are right in the area that we're trying to like catch up on. So these are almost, these are 2-game jumps as opposed to just the one out of conference against Portland. So these are really important games. And a telltale sign also as the trade deadline creeps forward where Masai and Bobby are going to position this team heading into February. Any parting words, Nate Dogg?
Be encouraged, Raptor Nation, by what you thought today. But and understand that during Trump, the Raptors themselves were the most. And you can see it on Freddie's face when he gets on a roll, how exciting and tiring it's been. So let's have a little patience, but take away the good notes of today, and hopefully we can drink some more together against Charlotte, Atlanta, and New York.
The invariable optimism from Nate Dogg. You'll never find much negativity from him. Thanks for joining tonight, Dog. Really appreciate it. Sahal, Kyle, Oren are all dropping the ball here, so you filled in last minute, which I really appreciate.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Have a good Sunday night.